Hi everybody, welcome to today's webinar where we'll talk a little bit about customizing the Creo interface. So just quickly our agenda for today's session and what our objective is. So I think you've got this with the invite as well. So I'm just going to do a quick introduction, myself and Boundary Systems. Then I've only prepared one slide. And then we're going to jump into Creo, and we're going to start to modify the user interface and play around with some of the options that's available to us. So my name is Pierre Venter, so I'm a Boundary Systems technical specialist. I've been working with the PDSVISION products for about 10 years now. I'm also a PDSVISION, also work on the PDSVISION manufacturing side of things, so the CNC machining, mold designs, and things like that. And so just quickly, a few slides about Boundary Systems. So these are some of the logos of the companies that we serve. I think the important one here, with what we help them, the product lifecycle management, we help them with data management, CAD, design, and consulting. We help them with simulation and product development as well. So I think some of the major accreditations we want to brag a little bit about. We are a PDSVISION Platinum partner. We're also Winchell certified implementers, a PDSVISION preferred service provider, and then we're also certified training partner for Creo, Winchell, MathCAD, and e.t.c. Some of the solutions we offer, I think that the main ones are the PDSVISION product range, but we also do Moldex, 3D, ZWCAD, and as you can see, D-Shot, EdRage. These are all the solutions that we offer. Okay, then my one slide on the Creo user interface before we jump into Creo itself. So I think the message on this slide is that there's a few areas in Creo that you can manipulate. So the first one is the basic options that you access through Creo, and then you can manipulate your ribbon. And then there's also a few things in the model tree that you can do to enhance your user experience. And then I think the oldest one, and we're still using a lot of that even today, is the config.pro. So there's still a few functions in the config.pro that we can set, but I think over the last few years, well, since PDSVISION moved over from Wildfire to Creo, they started using the options tab a little bit more. So essentially what your options tabs are doing, it's just putting config.pro settings on and off, okay, without you going and looking for them and changing them. So I think as Creo evolves into 7, 8, and so on, more of those settings from the config.pro file will move into the normal properties dialog box that I will show you today. Okay, so I think that's the areas that I want to focus on today. So I've prepared about 15 points that we'll discuss and work through within Creo. Okay, so I'm just quickly going to minimize this, and I already have Creo open. So I think each time I start off with a new installation or with a new config.pro or with a new setup, the first thing that I go and change is I want Creo to be maximum screen size. So the default the default setting, you'll see you'll miss about, I would say, maybe half an inch to an inch on the right hand side. So that's something I don't like. I think it was relevant when there was still a lot of menu managers. There is still menu managers in Creo, but it's not that much anymore. PDSVISION is busy phasing that out. So I just don't like that. So let's jump into the config.pro file and let's quickly change that. So how you access your config.profile. It's going to go to File, Options, and then these are, I think, from Creo, we use the Creo Biometric Options, which is a lot easier to navigate and to understand than just the config.pro, like it was in early wildfire releases, and maybe even before that. So configuration editor. So that's basically all the things that's available or that you can adjust in your config.pro. So how you would use this is you would go and find, and you will start typing in the command that you want. So I know it's open underscore Windows. I'm not going to type it out completely. I'm going to say find now, and it's going to list all the config files or the config settings that you can set. You can search within descriptions as well. So if you know it's something to do with the browser, you can just type in your keyword as browser and then scroll through those options. That's going to be at number 2 at the options. So this is what I want to set. The default value is still set to no. I'm going to say yes to that, and I'm going to add the change. So you would see in the background it added that in as well. So there's the open maximized. So before this will take effect, I need to restart Creo. Okay, so as soon as you see an icon like this, it looks like a little screen with a dot in it. That means before that setting will take effect, you need to restart Creo. Okay, so let's quickly do that. So I'm going to say OK to this. As soon as I say OK, it's going to ask me if I want to save my config. So there's 2 ways that you can handle this. So if it's a permanent setting, obviously, then you say yes and you save it. If it's something that you just want to set for that particular session or day that you need it, then you don't have to save that. So use it as you need it. So I'm going to say, I want to say yes on this. And then I'm going to go to my startup directory. I'll show you now where you can find that information. I select my config.profile. I say OK, and that's saved now. So let's quickly close Creo down. And let's quickly look at my setup while we at it. So the config.profile will always be in your startup folder. Okay, so there's a few ways that you can handle your config.profile. So I know a lot of administrators will put it in the installation folder under the text folder. So they will run a batch file. It will copy it from a map drive on a server, and that's how they enforce users to use specific settings. Right. So they can use a config.pro or a config.sup. So I'll quickly go to my sup file and talk a little bit about that as well. Okay, so let's just first check if my setting was saved and I can use it now. So I'm just going to go cancel there, open up Creo again, and it's going to be a full screen now. Okay, so you see I don't have that little black section here on the right hand side anymore. Okay, so let's quickly go back to the config.sub and those things. So I'm going to go properties here, and I'm just going to go into my installation folder. I'll say open file location. So this is the actual icon or the startup command that I run, and I need to go to the common files folder. And then I need to go to my text folder. So you would have a config.pro in here by default, and you will have you can have a config.sup in as well. Okay, so let's quickly talk about the difference about the config.pro and the config.sup. So the config.sup is a file that administrators can use to force certain settings. So what I always tell the administrators is use the SUP for things like templates, start parts, something that's critical to the functioning of the engineering department, drawing formats, things like that. You can force users to use certain things. Then leave the config.pro for customizations. I mean, if a user is comfortable in his environment, it's going to be more productive. It's easier for everybody. If one guy likes a white background and the other guy likes a purple or black background, give him that opportunity. Don't force things like that. I know in the wildfire area, you used a system color file, and that was distributed throughout the company. As soon as you start up Creo, it was all the same. Okay, so you can still do that with Creo. I just like giving users the freedom to modify the environment as they would like to use it. Okay, so let's quickly open up my config. So I'm just quickly going to rename this. And I'm working in program files, so I need administrative rights. So I just say okay. And I'm going to open this up in Notepad. And you can see I have a few settings in here. So I have my home page that's blank currently. And then I set my trail directory where I want all my trail files. And then I have my open window maxed, yes, also in here. Okay, that's my config.sub. Okay, so those settings are going to be forced now. So let's quickly close that. That's my config.pro as well. Let's close that one for now. I'm going to open up a new one. Okay, then you'll notice there's a config.pro in this text folder as well. Okay, so you can have a config.pro in about 3 different places. You can have it in this text folder that I have open here. You can have it in, if you set an environmental variable, for your PDSVISION home folder, you can have it in there, and then you can have it in your start in folder. So the start in folder is the one that's specified when you open up or when you go to the properties of your icon that you use for starting up Creo. So Creo will follow a certain sequence in this. So it will read the config.pro in the text file first, then it will go to the home variable that you set, and then it will go to the start in folder. But the trick around the config.pro is it will take the settings that it's reading last. So it will always take the config.pro that's in your startup folder. So to make it easy, and how I explain it to administrators is, don't worry about the one in the text file. Don't worry about the home variable that you set. Use the config.sup in your text folder to force certain settings, and then use the config.pro in the starting folder for user-related things. Okay. It's simple. You don't have to worry about it's going to take a setting there and maybe one there, and it's all over the show. Have 2 things that you can control. It's a lot easier and much better for everybody to manage. So let's quickly go to that folder. I'm just going to copy that. Or do I have it? No, I have it open already. Okay, so there's my config.pro in my startup folder. So I can go into Creo now, and I can change, add anything that I would like that for my environment or user interface, and save it in there. Something that's different as well is we have this Creo Biometric Customization UI. Okay, so that's the UI file will save all your user interface changes. So if I change my model tree, or I change my my icons size or anything like that, that's going to be saved under this folder. Okay, so you have config.pro file to set certain settings, and the customization.ui file for user interface things. Okay, so not everything is in the UI file yet. That's where you still have to use your config.pro file. Okay, but I think the things that we'll discuss today will be mostly in the customization.ui file. Okay, so I hope that makes sense. Let's quickly, I see I have a question. Okay, so you can type in your questions at any stage using the GoToWebinar panel, and then we'll handle the questions after the demo. So I'll stop about 15 minutes or so before the end, and then I'll handle all those questions. But you can type them as you think about them. Okay, so don't wait until the end of the session. Okay, so let's quickly go back into Creo and let's start manipulating our environment a little bit. Okay, so let's quickly go change our home setting, or we try to change it. So we're going to go File, Options, and we can go and change our home browser. So the home browser is the first screen that you will see when you open up Creo. So mine is blanked out now. There's nothing specific that I need to see. What I know a lot of the Windchill guys will do is they will bring up the Windchill homepage. You can have anything in there. You can use Google, Yahoo, or whatever you want. Just type in the web address. It's going to open up that in the browser. If it's your company website, you can use that. You can log in through this page and use it as a normal browser. Okay, so that's just something I wanted to mention. It's a nice starting point. So what I'll normally do is I'll make Creo full screen, and then I'll change my homepage to whatever I need to see on the first thing when I open up Creo. Okay, so let's quickly go into an assembly, and let's just start opening up some parts and start working with that. So I'm going to go to my webinars, and I'm going to open up, set that as my working directory. I'm going to go open. I need to open up an assembly. So just look at the clicks that I follow now. I'm going to change that later. Set assembly and say open. Okay, so we have an assembly open. So let's quickly just focus on the environment that I currently have. This is default. So datum planes, datum axes, coordinate systems, all of that is showing at the moment. If I need to go and change that, I need to select all, then that is off. If I want to select datum planes on, it's a fly out, and I have to select datum planes, and now I can start working with this assembly. Okay, so we'll change that in a bit. What I wanted to show you is the model tree quickly. So in Creo 6, there's a dynamic search. So as you start typing in, it's going to search for parts. Okay. So very nice. It's interactive. Nice tool. If you don't want to use that, you can right click in here and you can say that the dynamic filter off, and then it's not going to search anything unless I hit enter, which I'll do right now, and then it will start searching for that. So that's just something that's new in Creo 6. I think in Creo 5, 4, and 3, you still have to hit enter. Okay, so that's something that I wanted to add there. Something else that I use a lot in the model tree is adding columns. So you can show any parameter that is used in Creo. You can show that in the model tree. So feature numbers, I use this a lot when I help customers with circular references. So I can just apply that and say okay. So now I can see the feature number and the feature ID. So as I expand this, I can see exactly what's going on. So if you ever worked with circular references or tried to fix them before, you know this is vital, because the the circular reference file will tell you what feature and what ID is referenced to other features and IDs. Okay, so that's good. And you can go in here and you can add as many as you like. Columns. You can add intent names. I mean, what I really use a lot is the manufacturing stuff. So I would go and select, where is that feature? Model parameters. That's just the model parameters. It's just the normal parameters that you have. Where is the manufacturing stuff? Okay, I'm missing something here. That's the model parameters, mass property parameters. So you can add your volumes and things like that. So that will change as the parameter update as well. Okay. I think I have to be in a manufacturing assembly for that to show. Okay, which I'm not. Okay, so I can apply that, but you can see what's happening here. So this is getting bigger and bigger, and to see all the information. So you don't need to see that all the time. You can set your columns, and then we have this nice visibility icon here that you can just hide that again, right? And when you need to see it, or when you need to type in information, you can do that. Okay, if you want the screen even bigger, you can click here on the left-hand side. You can hide the model tree. Okay, so that's just expanding your graphics area a little bit more. So it all depends on what you're busy with. I think the model tree things, it's not something that you will set permanently, but it's nice tools to know to use when you need maximum screen area. Right. I'm going to bring that back, and I'm going to leave the parameters. Okay. So let's quickly talk a little bit about the UI file. So let's go and play around with that. So we're going to go File, and we're going to go Options. So basically anything that you change in the Creo Biometric Options will be saved to the UI file. Okay, so we're just going to start with the environment, and we're just quickly going to go through this. So things like map keys that you'll set in here, that's one I use a lot. If you use model check, this is where you'll configure model check. I think system appearances, right? So this is also a nice one, and a lot of guys use this. You can go and change this up a lot. I mean, you can go and you can change the datum colors, your selection colors, background colors, shaded edge colors. I've got a recommendation there. Some customers like it, some doesn't, but my feeling is that use the defaults that's coming with Creo. I've seen so many customers that will go and change all these colors, and as soon as they go into a drawing environment, there's conflicting colors. So it's yellow in parts, but you're using a black background, and now you're going to drawing, and sometimes you can't see the selections and things like that. So if you use default colors, then you know all the other colors will line up with that. So if you would like a dark system color, then you can use that. So you can see all the other colors changed according to that theme. If you want black on white, so that's going to be a lot different in drawing mode, for instance. And then you can have that one as well. And then obviously you can start off with any of those and then start changing your colors. Okay, so I'm going to stick to the default one. I'm used to it by now, and I like it. So let's stick to that for this exercise. That's the graphics. You can go into datums, you can change all your colors over there. The geometry, you can go and change that. So it can become a big exercise if you don't use the defaults. If there's specific things that you would like to change, just go in there, change the one color, save your UI file, and that's it. Okay, so something that I would like to change and save is in the entity display. So let me just open up a nice part for this exercise. I'm going to open up a component. I'm going to view this normal, select that one, and I'm going to put this in wireframe. And then I'm going to zoom in a little bit. I hope on the webinar you can see it properly. So you can see that edge isn't really perfect. Okay, so let's go and change a little bit of that. Options, entity display. So also depending on the machine, depending on your graphics card, you need to change these settings accordingly. So I'm not using a big assembly here. I'm not using up a lot of resources. So I'm going to make my edge display very high, and I'm going to hit apply, and I hope you can see it on the screen, but you can see it's taking those extra straight lines, and it's just smoothing them out a little bit. You can, let's put the anti-aliasing on. You can see the lines changing as well, so it's just making it a little bit smoother. I don't like that particular setting really. I don't think it's doing that much for me at this stage, so I'm going to leave it at off. So I'm going to set that as on very high, and then I need to save my UI file. So let's save it now. So I'm going to say export. That's the I need to go in here and say export. So I'm just going to save that. And yeah, that's fine. And that's saving it to the UI file now. So now I can carry on. Selection filters. So that's the one here at the bottom. If you want anything specific, this is where you're going to change that, or what should it be. That depends on what you use a lot. If you're using surf, or if you're designing with surfacing, you might need to change that. If you're using solids a little bit more, things like that, you can change your default settings over here. Sketcher, what constraint types do you want to use? Once again, I've got everything on. I want to use everything. I can't think of why you won't need that. But if there's certain cases that you wanted to force certain lines not to be parallel, for instance, then you can switch it off over here, or you can do it in Sketcher. So assembly settings, things like that, notification center. What do you want to see? Should it report circular references? I mean, you can go and ignore this if you want to. Should it just be a message? You decide how do you want to use the notification center. And I think that's more or less the same for all of these. They explain themselves. If you want to set your sheet metal and bend allowance tables, things like that, that's where you set all of this. So this is a good example of config.pro settings that you had to set in previous releases of Pro Engineer. This was config settings. So for instance, I can just go and I can browse and I can select my tables if I want to. I think the next one that I want to move on to is the ribbon. Okay, so there's a few ways that you can access the ribbon customization options. So it's either through the options, or you can just simply right click anywhere on the ribbon and say customize ribbon. So if you on the fly, busy designing, and you see I'm using this specific icon a lot today. I need to change this. Just right click and say customize ribbon. It's going to take you to exactly the same window. Okay, so how this basically works is you've got your commands and you've got a certain mode that you are working in. So the current mode is I'm in design part mode. You can change this to all modes, and then you can change anything that you would like. You can change things for drawings if you want to add icons and things like that for your drawing. I'm going to stick to the design part for now, and I'm just quickly going to move some icons around. Let's see, what will we add? So let's go to the shapes, and let's add, we've got extrude over there. Let's move blend. So this is the overflow. So I don't want it in the overflow. I'm using this a lot, so I want to move that up. And you can see there's my blend. It's changing as I'm selecting it. So I don't want anything in the overflow, which means I have to select this this fly out arrow before I can choose it. I'm using that rotational blend a lot as well. I want that in there as well. Okay, so that's nice. So these features I use a lot. I don't want them to be small icons. I want them to be large icons. So I'm going to say revolve, and I'm going to say modify, and I say make that a large button, please. A large button, and you can see now my revolve is a large button. I'm using my sweat blend a lot as well. I want that a large button as well. Okay, and then maybe I'm just taking my sweep and move that around. So now I've got my three features I use a lot, nice and big, and all the others I'm not using that much. Smaller icons, but I don't have any flyouts. Okay. So once again, I can say I want to save that, and I'm going to save this in my working directory, or not my working directory, in my startup folder. I need to go to D drive, and I'm going to go to Creo setup, and here's my UI file. I'm going to save that. I'm going to overwrite what I have there and say OK. Okay, so that's one of the first things that I wanted to change. So let's quickly check. If I close Creo and I open it back up, is everything going to be the same? Okay, let's test that. So let's close all of this down. And let's fire up Creo again. Okay, so while that's happening, I see there's already a few questions coming in. So keep them coming. I'll answer them as soon as I'm done with the demonstration. Okay, so let's quickly open up a part again. So I need to go to my webinar data. Open up the assembly again. Okay, assembly open. See, my screen was still big. So my model tree settings was saved with that UI. Okay, so let's close that, and let's open up a part, the same one. And you can see my icons. There's a bit of a delay. You go, okay, so you can see my extrude, revolve, and things that I saved is still nice and big. So every time I start up Creo now, that's gonna be like that. Okay. Let me just quickly show you guys one other thing before I go back into the properties file, and that's something that you can use with help. So if you pick a feature and you hold your left mouse button in and you hit F1, that is supposed to open up the help documentation, but it's the help documentation specifically to what you've selected, and that didn't happen there. So let's try something else. Cancel, and let's use the let's see UDFs, and that's the user-defined features. Let's quickly look at that. Okay, so I've picked the UDF, hold the left mouse button in help, and that's just something you can use to get to a specific topic within the help files. Okay, let's close that, and let's quickly go back to our customization. Okay, so the next thing that I wanted to show is with the ribbon as well, but there's a few things that we can change. So we can change the quick access toolbar here at the top, and we can change the graphics toolbar as well. So remember when I've opened the assembly in the beginning, I had to go and select all the datum planes and things like that. So let's maybe go back to the assembly, and now everything is showing. It's a fly out, which is nice because it's making this toolbar a lot shorter in your graphics window. But I would like it to have each have its own icon. So I'm just going to select all of this, and it's going to show. You can see that bar getting longer and longer. Okay, but now if I just want to do the datum planes, I could just pick it like that. Okay. If I want to hide the axis, points, and coordinate systems, I can pick it like that, and I just want to show the datum planes. So it's simple. It's not a fly out. Okay. Something else what you can do here is you can change the size of the icons. Okay, so you can set it to medium. You can see that's a little bit bigger, and you can make it large as well. Okay, so now it's almost blending in with your ribbon. So not something I would set on my machine, but certainly if it's working for you, go and set that. I'm going to set that to small, and then we're going to add an icon that's going to be at the quick access toolbar, but I'm going to add a map key in there. So let's quickly go to my map keys. I've already had one open that's for opening assemblies. So if I need to go and open up an assembly, there's a few clicks involved with that. Okay, so I'm going to close this down. So if you open up the assembly, you have to say open. You have to set your type to assembly. If you're working with state files, IGES files, things like that, you can use exactly the same principle. So you have to set it to the type of file that you want to open up. So I want to do assemblies. And now I can only see assemblies in my open window. So now I can pick my assembly and I can say open. Okay. So I quickly want to change that. I just want a one button thing to open up assemblies. So let's quickly go to the quick access. I'm going to customize the quick access toolbar. But what I want to do is I want to select a map key. So it's Creo Biometric Options, and you select your map keys, and I can have open up assembly. So anything that's going to, all your map keys will be listed in here. I have 2 here now, and I'm going to throw that the quick access toolbar. So you can see at the top, so I have new, then I have open, assembly, then I have my normal open. Okay, I say that's great, that's something I want. Let's save this. I need to save this to my working directory. or to my start in directory rather, which is Creo setup. There we go. And say OK. And let's test the map key. I can go OK. Let's close this down. I can say open. And I need to say working directory, and it's already showing my type as assemblies. So it's a few extra clicks. So I've had customers that will have one for assemblies, drawings, and if they use a lot of step files or IGES files. Okay, so it's 3 extra icons there at the top. It's just one click, open up the step file, drag it into the assembly, you're done. Okay. Something else that we can add, let's open up the assembly again. I used the wrong icon, sorry. Now I have to do it the long way around. And let's say I want to add, I need to change colors a lot. I like the color blue, for instance, and I need to change parts to blue. So if you don't have an icon for that, or you didn't customize your user interface, you will have to go appearances, you have to select the color and then select the part. Okay, so let's go and add that icon into the ribbon for that. So I'm going to go customize ribbon, and we're going to add this to the model display. And I'm going to go to my map keys again. You can see I've added a nice icon to that as well. No, that's not where I want it. Go back. I want it over here. Model display. Hey, one click. So let's highlight that one. Move that across. Okay, and so you can see there's my icon now. So it's nice and big. I can pick that and just add the blue color to any components. Okay, so let's compare that clicks. So now I can just go pick my icon, pick my part, done. Okay, so if you have to do that for a few parts, it's done. Okay, so it's a simple example, but it's how you can combine map keys with the user interface, and you can change all of that up and make your life a lot easier. Okay. So let me just check if I'm missing anything that showed that. Okay, so one other thing that you can also change. So I think from Creo Biometric 3, they've started using the mini toolbar. So if you pick something and you right mouse button, there's a few icons or a few commands that you can use. So you can customize this as well. Simply right click on it, say customize, and it's the same environment as the properties dialog box. So it's going to give you a category. You're going to pick whichever one you want to use, and then you just simply add whatever you want in there. If you do a lot of analysis things, you can add that in. Just drag and drop it in there. I think that's already there. The measurements, angle things you can add. I mean, you can change whatever you need to change in here. Okay, and now if you pick something, you make a selection. I mean, that is in there. Okay, so it's the same principle. You just need to apply and decide what do you want in there. Okay, so there's about 15 minutes left of the webinar, so I'm going to go through the questions, get them in. I'll put up my contact information again. Let's do that. So if you think of anything else after this 15 minutes, then feel free to drop me an email, and I'll answer you if I can. If I can't, then I'll get the right people involved and get you an answer. Okay, so I'm just going to mute myself for a second or so, get those questions in, and then I'll start the answer session. Okay, so I've got two questions here. That's very similar. One question: is there a config.sup equivalent for the Creo parametric customization.ui file? So I know there's a few areas that that Creo will use for reading the UI file, and let's just quickly check my help system information. I think it's the same scenario. You can have it in a few places, but it will, the one that it reads last, it will take that one. So yep, I think that is. So I have a UI file in my users folder, but it's using the one that is reading last. So that sequence that Creo follows. So everything in the starting folder, it will take those settings. So if you have one in this default location, it's going to read that. But as soon as it reads the one in your start in folder, then it will override the old one. So I don't think there's a config.sub or SUP equivalent for the UI file. There's only one at this stage. So that ties in with the second question. So I use a config.sup, config.pro, and a user.profile to set individual settings. How can I create an admin UI that gets used, but then allows people to change however they would like from there? So that ties in. So you can copy the original one from the server to the users folder, like this one here. And then as soon as the user starts manipulating it, it can save it to its start in folder. So that will ensure that everybody starts off the same, but then as they make changes and save the file, they will save it to the start in folder, and that will be then their specific file. Okay, and then the third question, can I set a path to save the UI to open it automatically so the users don't need to navigate to the correct location? Let's search that in the config.profile, because I'm not 100% sure. I'm just going to copy that. Let's see if there's a path that we can set. Let's take some of this wording out. Let's search for that. Here we go. Looks like there's something. Load load UI customization running directory. What's that? Enables the loading of the UI customization file if located in the run directory. Okay, so that's not really answering our question. So there's no path that you can specify for that. Okay, so no, doesn't seem like there's. Okay, then the third one, or the last question, where does the UI file pull from? So it's the start in folder or the users folder, the default one that I've specified. So those are the two locations. So when you install Creo, it will do this one automatically. Right, so that's starting off. So as an administrator, you can copy that from a server with a batch file when you start up Creo, and then that's the starting point for everybody. Okay, so there's not any other questions that's coming in at the moment. If you feel I didn't answer your question 100%, please send me an email. I'll reach out. Maybe we can do a phone call or do something like that, and I can help you or get the right resources, and I can also learn something from that. So. Ron, sorry, I'm mentioning you now, but can you send me an email about the favorites? Then I'll handle that. There's a few things that that can be done. So maybe we can start an email thread on that one. Rich, I'm going to ask you the same about the drawing mode and the hidden lines. Also send me an email on that. That can also be a lengthy discussion, and we're running a little bit out of time on this webinar. I'm just going to put my contact details back up again. Okay, so there's no more questions coming in. Feel free to send me an email and I'll reach out as soon as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and end the webinar. Thank you for joining us and hope to see you next time. Bye, everybody.